Well, Michigan is a key state, obviously, to win in 2020 for either candidate. This Tuesday and Wednesday nights, 10 Democratic candidates each will face off in the CNN presidential debate in Detroit. Back in 2016, President Trump won Michigan by a slim margin, just nearly 11,000 votes, more than Hillary Clinton, and more than 75,000 voters in the state refused to cast a ballot for any presidential candidate. Randy Kay went to Michigan to see what voters have to say about the candidate seeking victory. This time, she talked with 10 undecided voters, 5 independent, 3 Democrats, and 2 Republicans. Here's what they had to say.
I really wish I could pull a number of things from a number of candidates to create an ideal candidate.
For these 10 undecided voters in Dearborn, Michigan, choosing just one candidate is tough.
I think Bernie Sanders has been saying the same thing for the last 30 years, and truth really matters today.
Who else is leaning, Frank?
Castro. I like his executive experience. San Antonio's a bustling city, HUD director. And I like his Marshall Plan for Central America as a way to address the immigration issues.
This Democrat likes Elizabeth Warren, but is more interested in Kamala Harris.
I'm looking for someone who has an agenda for African Americans and someone who has something with meat behind it. And Kamala Harris recently proposed a $100 billion plan for housing for African Americans.
One name I'm not hearing is Joe Biden. Is there anyone here considering Joe Biden? Raise your hand.
If he's on the ballot on March 10th in Michigan, I will vote for him without question.
Joe Biden, in my opinion, is Hillary Clinton 2.0. He's just about the worst thing that the Democrats could do.
You are your record. But now that he's out here in front by himself, now we get to look at these statements that he's made. We get to look at the laws that he's passed.
Some in this group haven't forgiven Biden for his recent comments about working alongside segregationist senators and his opposition to federally mandated busing to integrate schools.
You didn't buy his explanation.
I did not buy his explanation, and I don't feel like he gave an authentic apology.
You in particular have a problem with Biden and his support of the 1994 crime bill.
It essentially eradicated my community. Most of my friends or people I grew up with are in jail, are either dead as a result of those policies.
Biden defends the bill, saying it had plenty of good things in it too. Still, 4 of the Democrats and independents in our group said they may not even vote for Biden if he turns out to be the nominee. But one Republican might.
I would consider Biden maybe, and I would consider Pete Buttigieg. I'm looking for somebody that I think is a little bit more moderate. The more progressive wing of the Democratic Party really scares me.
Republican Hayden Kibbe, a first-time voter, is also intrigued by Donald Trump.
I think he's trying to grow the economy. I think he's trying to really help the average American voter. But I just wish he would put down his Twitter. If he would put down his Twitter, I would be behind him. But when he has these xenophobic tweets, that's really a turnoff for me.
Independent voter David Palmer hasn't ruled anyone out except Trump.
The man is a habitual liar. He's been credibly accused of sexual assault by over a dozen women. He's run multiple companies into the ground, and if you look, last month we had the highest national deficit total in 1 month in our nation's history.
But even this undecided Republican who praises Trump on the economy is considering a Democrat.
Andrew Yang is the closest thing on the person on the Democratic side that I would consider voting for. I think Andrew Yang is intelligent and he has a few good ideas, especially with universal basic income.
What do you need to hear at the upcoming debate that will help push you toward a candidate?
Truth, consistency. Like, I'm sick of being spun.
I need to hear policies that will appeal to Americans who are like me with a family. We're trying to pay off our student loans. We're trying to buy a house, but the housing market's unaffordable. We're trying to get ahead in life. I'm just trying to live the American dream. And it's really hard for me to do that because this America wasn't set up for me. This America that we live in today was set up for Trump and his buddies.
Randy Kay, CNN, Dearborn, Michigan.
We'll get more perspective now. Joining us once again tonight, USA Today columnist and CNN political analyst Kirsten Powers, who I made disappear very strangely earlier in the program. I apologize. So, Kirsten, the big takeaway from the piece, seems to be, and again, it's not a scientific polling and anything, but it's always interesting to hear from voters. This group not terribly enthusiastic about any particular Democratic candidate.
Yeah, I think that's a big takeaway, and they're not enthusiastic, particularly about the front runner, right, Joe Biden. So you're seeing that they're still sort of searching. If you listen to all of them, they're all coming from different perspectives. They're looking for different things. They don't seem to have found anything that they're really excited about. Now, it's really early, so it's not uncommon, for people still to be figuring things out, and they will be figuring out things out over a long period. But Joe Biden's been in the public eye for a long time, and so I think if you're Joe Biden, I'd be concerned watching that, because I think if you look at the polls, I'm sure the Biden campaign is wondering how much of that is name recognition, how much of that is Obama nostalgia, and then when you see how you have people who have really specific problems with him, and then at best they're just not enthused.
Well, also those, most of the polls you're seeing are national polls, which it's interesting to see, but it's not what's happening in Michigan. It's not what's happening in Iowa. These early states these states that are crucial.
Right. Well, and in Michigan, of course, the Democrats lost so narrowly by around 10,000 votes, a lot of that was because African American turnout was down. And listening to that African American gentleman talking about how the 1994 crime bill affected him, it's a very personal story, and he's probably not the only person with that story. And so, I think the more attention that Joe Biden's record gets, maybe the more accountable he's going to be held.